Has the market begun to stabilize in the Villages, Florida? Yes, it has. And I'm going to give you all the details in this video, but you need to make sure you stay until the end. I have some great information all about if you have a contract on a home and we have a major storm like we just did with Hurricane Ian, how you are protected as the buyer. So you're going to make sure you want to stick to the end. All right, so let's talk about what I'm seeing as far as home sales and home prices. Definitely at a standstill. Not home sales, we're still moving homes, but the prices are kind of stabilized. I see that homes are staying on the market longer, but I'm not seeing the price reductions that we have had in the recent past. So I think that we're kind of would lead me to believe that we're in a little bit of a stabilization with the interest rate going up here. And I'm just going to talk you through this. I found on Google where you can, if you're a finance buyer, you can kind of check out the interest rate based on your credit score, how much you're going to borrow, what that interest rate might be. And I think you'll find that interesting because at 7%, what does that mean? Will that mean home sales are going to slow? More people buying cash? Most of the deals that I have had in the past, in the summer, and now through October, have primarily been a cash sale. I have had one, I think it's just one. One was financed. So we'll see how that all plays out. Average days on the market. I have some great notes here, so I'm going to read a little bit for you. Now I've broken this down by zip code. So if you know, and I'm going to put the graphic here so it'll back up what I'm saying and you can see it actually. 32162, that's primarily most of the villages. That in August, we had 27 average days on the market for 32162, and in September, 32. So comparatively speaking, then when we talk about listings, we had 100 new listings in August and only 65 in September. Now that September's complete, we have all that data. For 32163, so 32163 is everything south of 44, but there is a small portion up north of 44 near the Brownwood area. So in August, we had an average 36 days on the market. In September, 35. So there was really not a change there. New listings in August, we have 44. September, we have 51. So that's good for us down here south of 44 because I love it here. But we're seeing more homes in south of 44 coming, or 32163, I should say, coming to market, which is the next interesting statistic. And remember, this is all from the MLS only. This does not include anything from the VLS because we're not privy to that information. You have to go into public record to get that once the deed is recorded. 32159, so that's the Lady Lake, the older section of the villages. In August, they had an average of 68 days on the market. But in September, only 32. So that's interesting. Relatively speaking, new listings in August, 38 and 42. So there's really not much of a change there. But the homes are selling a little bit quicker up in 32159 now. I will say I think that market is hot, that 350 and under, and primarily the homes north of 466 in that 32159. That's what you're finding in that area. So interesting, very interesting. Before we get on to the next topic, I do want to remind you I have an ebook that I wrote all about buying, selling, and living in the villages. It's a villages lifestyle. If you go to my website, RobynCavallaro.com, you can get that as an automatic download, so please pick up a copy of that if you haven't done so already. Homes on the market. Now I want you to take a look at this graphic that I added just so you can see how many homes we have, and this is as of today, and it is October 9th. You can see the bulk of the homes obviously are 400 and under. We do have some interesting inventory at the $900,000 mark. But, you know, there are plenty of homes to purchase at all different price levels. I can tell you, though, in that $350,000 and under, you are going to find a project. Some may have the major things updated: roof, hot water heater, the HVAC. Some may have not. From what I've been actually toured homes, they need work. Some need a lot. Some need some cosmetic work. So, you know, to take that into consideration when you're looking at your home. But definitely there is a lot of opportunity in that 350 and under. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my email newsletter list, because I put out an episode each week called The Good, the Not So Bad, and the Ugly. Sometimes there's the weird in there, but that's an episode where I go through the MLS and I pick out homes that fit the category: good, the bad, not so bad, the ugly. And I talk about what I see from the MLS listing. Some of the homes that I have been in, some of the homes I have not. But I give you my honest opinion. If I like the home, I say it. If I think the house is a dump, I tell you it's a dump. But sometimes the dump is your opportunity. And so you can go onto my website and sign up for the email newsletter. I'll also put a link in the description box below. And if anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Just put them. If you click on the title, it'll open up. It'll say comments. And, you know, any comments you make, I typically answer all of them as long as they're related to the content. Yeah, so I think it's interesting that we have 235 active homes, all different categories of prices. What you will notice, though, from that graphic, there is nothing between $8 and $850. Go figure. New listings. So let's talk about that. New listings are down. In July, we had new listings almost 130. That's for the month. Okay, so active listings are different than new listings. So active listings is going to be cumulative of what you can find on the market today. New listings are just what came new that month. So in July, we had new listings 138. And this is 32162 and 32163. In August, it went down a little bit to about 120, 125. But then in September, down to about 100. So the new listings are going down. New listings are going down. Prices are holding steady, but I still see it. You know, I think we're out of balance. It's kind of a buyer's market, but it's kind of a seller's market. I've had homes come on the market that I've sent out to potential clients that are gone in 2 days because they're priced well and they look good. If your home is not priced well or it needs work, it will sit. It's just the fact. Next, we're going to talk about the hurricane. All right, so there is a provision in the contract. It isn't anything we have to add, but there is a provision in the contract that reads force majeure. And just in summary, that means that if there is an act of God, like a hurricane or an act of terrorism, the clause is triggered that certain time periods, including the closing date, can be extended for a reasonable amount of time, up to 7 days after the event is completed. So what that means for you is that and this happened to me because I had 3 closings happening during Hurricane Ivan. 2 we had to postpone because it was happening during the hurricane. 1 we had to push back because he couldn't get insurance. because they were not writing. Once a named storm happens, and this is snow or rain, insurance companies will no longer offer coverage. They won't bind any new policies until after the event is over. So this protects you that you don't fall out of contract, that you can continue moving on. The seller has to give you that extra amount of time to get your ducks in order. The next provision in the contract that helps out the buyer, and these are all to protect, it protects the seller, but it really protects the buyer, because the last thing you want to do is buy a home that's gone through a hurricane and find out the roof came off or it's leaking. But anyway, this second part of the contract is access to property to conduct appraisals, inspections, and walkthrough. So after the hurricane, the buyer is entitled to do, even if you've already gone through a walkthrough, you're entitled to go back through the property and make sure that the conditions are favorable. And the seller shall, upon a reasonable request, provide utility services and access to the property. The utilities are out, obviously you can't, but that's where that gives you that extra time to get through and make sure that that home is in good condition. So the last section of the contract that protects you is the risk of loss. So you're in a contract, the hurricane comes through, you have major damage to the home. Now what do you do? All right, so everybody's kind of in a bind. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, everyone's in a bind. So what happens? Well, this part of the contract, risk of loss, states that if the buyer discovers casualty damage from a hurricane, the clause describes the rights and obligations of each buyer. You have to restore the property, or the restorations of the property does not exceed 1.5% of the purchase price, then the seller is obligated to repair it. For the most part, they'll have insurance, high deductibles, but the seller has to repair the home up to 1.5% of the sale price with this section of the contract. If the restoration isn't complete during closing, the seller will escrow the sum equal to 125% of the estimated cost to complete the restoration. So that means that if you both agree that they will repair it, but all the repairs cannot be done and you're still going to close, they have to escrow that money. And that happens even if there's a repair that needs to be done to the home without a hurricane and it cannot be accomplished during the time of the contract, but it'll happen maybe a week or two, let's say, after closing. They'll escrow that money, it gets repaired, money's released. If the cost of the restoration, though, exceeds 1.5% of the sale price of the home, the buyer has the option to take the property along with the 1.5% of the purchase price, or receive a refund of the deposit, releasing the buyer and the seller from further obligations under the contract. That's your out clause. If the home has suffered extensive damage, you can back out of the contract and get your money back. So I think these pieces of the sale contract give you peace of mind that in the event there is a major storm, you are protected. If you have any questions about that, please put them in the comments below or email me. My email address is listed below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, purchase my book, sign up for my email newsletter list. Until next time, my name is Robyn Cavallaro, and if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned. I think you might like this one as well. Take care.